Hello everyone. Today we want to talk about another function of the PowerFactory as a quasi-dynamic simulation. So in quasi-dynamic simulation, you can simulate and run simulation for 1 day, 1 year, and for example, 1 month for some specific time for long duration. So for this example, we make a new project, for example, this one as a test, and we can connect, for example, two bus bars to each other, and for example one load here and one line we can connect to these two bus bars, and then here we can connect one infinity bus bar or external grid. So for example we can put 10 kilovolts for each bus bars, and the load can be, for example, 0.1 for example, and we can make some, it's not so much important, make for example 10 kilovolts and 0.1 for example. Make a load flow to see it's working. Okay, so Quasi dynamic here, if you click on this toolbox here, we have Quasi dynamic simulation. So for Quasi dynamic simulation, we can add some data, for example, for this load and make some simulation for 1 day. Here, for example, we have some data for 1 day, minutely for one load. We can select all of that. You can also find it online from any websites. Here we can select all of that, just Ctrl C, copy. And here we have general load. Double click on this one, load flow. And here we have the active power. So active power that we have here is, for example, 0.1 and is always constant. So if you right click here, add project, time characteristic, here you can make a new object. Okay, so we have this window, and this window you can see is for every 15 minutes. From the data that we had, it was for every 1 minute. So you can see it's changed. Now it's for every 1 minute until end of the day. So the data that we had, it was for 1 day. If I make Ctrl V here, it's paste here. Here so we can see the diagram. So this is a data consumption for the load for 1 day. And here, this usage is relative or absolute value. So here is absolute value. Here we have 12 watts, 10 watts, and blah, blah. If I click on absolute, here we have unit. Because the unit for load is megawatt, we can define the user define it, and now is kilowatt. If I click OK, now we have this one, click OK, and is added. So you can see is changed to pink. Click OK. So now we added to here. We should make a Quasi dynamic simulation. Here, click on Quasi dynamic simulation, and here we have AC load flow, AC load flow, and DC load flow. This is for 1 day, and this step side, because the data that we had was minutely, we should change to minute. Step 1, execute. So now we run that one, and we should make, and we should see what is the variables. Here in top, we have the plot, create curve plot. If you click, here we have Quasi dynamic simulation, curve plot, and click OK. So here we have elements in our system. For example, here's line, click OK. Variable is, for example, loading, and click OK. So here we can see this is a loading for 1 day of our line. Is between 0.6% to 0.1% for different period of time. If we change the type of this line, because this is 1 kiloamp. Normally 1 kiloamp is a lot for distribution system. We can change it to 1.1. If we run it again, now it's more logical. So on this period of time is around 6%, and this period of time is less. If you want to also add and run the Quasi dynamic for PV, here we have PV also in PowerFactory. Here, PV system, you can connect anywhere you want. And if you double click on the PV in the load flow here, you can also add and insert the active power. So for example, here I have the solar power generation for 1 day. I can copy like this, right click, add project, exactly same, but now is for generation. Here, first change it to 1 minute, paste, and make sure that always this is on absolute value. For example, in the diagram, we can see is how much production that we have is from 0 to 600 watts. So from user defined, we should change to what? Nothing. So it will be what?